I have to understand as a recruiter in a couple of seconds, why are you the right person for the job?
Hi ladies, welcome back to another episode of our Smart Women, Smart Moves video series, where we sit down with a variety of experts to give you all their tips and tricks to help you level up in your life. If we haven't met before, my name is Tia Angelos and I am the founder of Smart Women Society. We're here to help you get smarter with your money, career, well-being and love life in a really actionable and easy to understand way. We are very lucky to be joined today by Becks Meyer, who is a HR recruiter with over 12 years experience, and she now works as the Oceania Head of Recruitment for a large multinational firm. You've probably seen from the title of this video, but we're going to be chatting about all things job applications. And before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a thumbs up. Let's get into it. Becks, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Applying for jobs is a very daunting task, especially when it comes to writing your resume and making a cover letter. Before we jump into the questions, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Absolutely. And you already mentioned, I have around 14 years of experience in the recruitment field. I started in recruitment agency. That was crazy, but a good starting point for a recruiting career. Then I moved into executive search and then finally into internal recruitment, and now 7 years in campus recruitment. And I'm very passionate about that. I love to work with young people. They motivate me and keep me young as well. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. And perhaps when you're wondering, where's this funny accent from Germany. So I moved to lovely Australia 7 years ago with my husband and not going anywhere.
Not going back.
Not going back. So just like, yeah.
Amazing. So let's start at the very beginning about job description. So let's say you found a really cool job online and you want to apply. Where do you start?
So first, just like have a look, go through that, read properly what it is about, because sometimes they just like want to sell you a good job, but you have to read all the details. Have a look at the skills they're just like asking for. Go through that and see if you can tick some of the boxes. You don't have to tick all of the boxes. If you're interested in this job, apply for it. Really encourage you. You don't have to feel that you have to 100% fit. If you're interested and you like the company, and that's perhaps the second point, research the company. Don't check only the skills, if you're just like eligible, if you can do this, but also what is this company about? Are the values also just like your values? What are they doing just like that interests you? So just like not only have a look at the job description, go to Google or whatever and just like research the company's website and get a feeling for them as well.
Yeah, and I saw some research recently saying that women only apply if they meet 100% of the job criteria, whereas men will apply if they meet just 60% of them. So don't box yourself out from a job application if you don't tick every single box. Still apply for it, because a lot of them is just a dream wish list and you can learn a lot of the skills on the job as well.
You can't tick all the boxes, exactly as you said, Taya, just like you will be trained on the job. But if you have just like real interest in this job, apply for it and you can tell the story why you want the job.
Exactly. So the biggest part of your job application is obviously your resume or your CV. Can you take us through the key components of a winning resume?
Oh, there's so many. And just like perhaps I have to say, depending where you apply, a big or a small company, resume is still important. But if you have already applied, you know there's online tools. The resume is almost getting replaced by the online tool. So just like when you apply, you have to put in your name, your whole just like education, whatever. So just like at the end of the day, not all recruiters looking at the resume anymore. But still, if you want to do this, what I really like, and I have to say, I love reading resumes or CVs. I love this little summary at the beginning, because you always have to think, make the life of the recruiter easy, make them curious about yourself. So if I already read this little summary at the top, and you convince me to say like, oh, now I'm curious, I want to learn more about this person, then I have a look. Education, interesting. What is this person currently working? So you have to attract me to read and keep it nice and simple. You know, just like you don't have to write an essay, just a little bit to catch me and just to make me curious, I would say. And the rest, as I said, just like in this online tool, you have so much space to just like tell something more about yourself. And looking back to the resume, it's not about just like the setup, the color or whatever, because at the end of the day, you attach it online. It's just more about, as I said, nice and easy and make me curious.
Aside from the summary, what else makes it stand out?
As I said, just like not too long, because recruiters don't have time to read. So they want to see everything perhaps in 1 or 2 pages. And when you have the job description, what we talked at the just like first question, tailor your resume to the job description. So if you just like apply for this role, make sure you show in your just like, for example, current work experience, these kind of skills or the transferable skills and why you are the right person for the job. I have to understand as a recruiter in a couple of seconds, why are you the right person for the job? Short and sweet. That's the best thing. I have to say that.
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet, and just like that. And now that's you. So yeah, and make it a little bit more personable as well. No copy paste kind of things. Just like you're a great person. Show your personality a little bit, and show me a little bit about yourself.
Can you tell if it's copy pasted?
I can. Because sometimes when you just like, and I know we talk about cover letters a little bit later, you get this feeling like, no, you're using the same resume for all companies you're sending it to. So make it a little bit like tailored and authentic. That's super important.
Amazing. So you said that the resume ideally should be 1 to 2 pages.
Yep.
How do you fit everything in 1 to 2 pages?
Tailor it. Really, just like don't start at kindy and say just like this is, sure, it depends how far you are in your career. If you already have 10 years of work experience, it's getting harder and harder to shorten it. But then you have to really tailor it to the job description you're applying for. So just like, again, make it short and sweet, but also just like make sure the most important things are there. If you apply for just like a higher position, you don't have to mention your high school anymore or your first work experience or any kind of internships. Then you start really with your permanent work experience at the end of the day. But I understand if you're just like graduating, you add in your internships and all these things because that's super, super important for the recruiter to know. But 2 pages is fine, trust me. And as I said, in this online application tool, there's also space to explain a little bit more what are you doing. So really use the space, but don't make it longer than 2 pages.
And there's also a lot of talk, instead of just saying what you did at previous jobs, to show the results you achieved at a previous job. Is that something you look for as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So just like depending again what industry you're applying for, and just like numbers and achievements can be very important, but also just like again depending on your work experience.
Yeah. Awesome. And then you also said that you should tailor your resume for every job application, and it is quite obvious when you have it.
Yeah, that's true. Just like, again, have a look at the job description. What is important? Every job description is different and has like a certain skill you want to show. So just like have a look at your work experience, internships, volunteering jobs, whatever you're doing, have a look where you show those skills and make it clear in your resume where you have those transferable skills.
Amazing. So I want to chat a little bit more about cover letters now, because they seem to be universally hated by everyone when it comes to applying for jobs. So what even is a cover letter and what's the point of them?
And perhaps I'm not the best role model to talk about that because I'm very bad in writing cover letters, but I love to read them in a way. But they're getting just like, I don't see them anymore that much. So just like perhaps back in the days, and just like the old lady from recruitment is now telling a story, when I started, there was still like a cover letter in front of every application pack. And back in the days, we sent those applications via post in an envelope. So the purpose of the whole cover letter was when you as a recruiter or HR person open the print out, just like flip through that, the first page is the cover letter. And the cover letter should attract or encourage me as a recruiter to just like read the CV. So if the cover letter is not making me curious or it's not interesting enough, I would perhaps put the application aside. So the cover letter had a different purpose back in the days. Now, it's not mandatory anymore, I have to say. Not only in the big companies, also the small companies say just like, do I really find out in the cover letter what I need to know about this person? No. You might already have experience in applying online. Again, there's a lot of space where the company is asking you about your motivation, about yourself. In our company, we call it pre-screening questions. Those questions totally replace the cover letter. So it's not mandatory, but if you have a good one and you feel like, hey, I told my story in this cover letter, please attach it, because sometimes it can still change something. You never know. If you feel comfortable with your cover letter, attach it. But as I said, I think in the next couple of years, they will be gone in a way. And you might have also experienced not only the online tool, but sometimes the first interview is a video interview. And exactly those questions that you would perhaps just like, just like talk about in your cover letter will be asked in this video interview. And this is the first snapshot for the recruiter, and they don't need a cover letter anymore.
Awesome. If the job did say you needed a cover letter, what are your tips to make it stand out?
Just like, again, like an elevator pitch. You might have heard about that, and just like do that in writing. Tell something about yourself. Why you want the role, talk about your motivation, and don't copy paste. I've seen so many copy paste like, I'm interested in this, working in this global company. No, don't copy paste from the website. Really tell your story very authentically why you want to apply for this role. And again, the same as the resume, make me curious. Tell something personal about yourself. Perhaps not too personal, don't have to share everything, but just like something that attracts me then to open your resume or to read a little bit more about your application. Yeah.
Great tips. And with the cover letter or with the pre-screening questions, how formal do you need to be? Can you show a bit of personality or do you need to be a bit stiff?
Yes, so just like depending on the industry you're applying for, and it's changing a little bit. So just like don't make it too formal and don't start with whom it may concern or just like dear Mr. Mrs. If you want to make it a little bit more personable, just like find out who the recruiter is. Find out who the hiring manager is. Check LinkedIn or even just like call reception to make it a little bit more personal. Hey, Kathy, or whatever, and just like then you write something. Or perhaps you met a representative of this company somewhere at all these networking events. Then you can, really just like use this experience to start your cover letter, and that makes it so much easier. That's authentic. You have a relatable story to tell. So, and always double check. I know, same as resumes and cover letters. You love perhaps using the same for just like all the companies. Don't do this. So it's pretty obvious if you do copy paste.
And I think being personable is so important because at the end of the day, people hire people. Like you want to hire someone for their personality and who they are, not for being a robot and very stiff in your application.
And it can be something funny perhaps, just like, your biggest achievement or your biggest challenge or what you have experienced last year, something during COVID, something that makes you a person. As you said here, we're not robots and we don't want to hire the same old people. Most of the companies prefer diversity and we want to have a unique story.
Amazing. So I have one last question before we jump into our community Q&A. So do you have any other top tips to make sure that your job application's actually seen and not just hidden or lost with the other applications?
So no one gets lost in a way, but I have a tip when it comes to online applications, and I think already like 90% is online application. Make sure you tick every box because this online application tool is a robot. So if you don't read properly through all the steps and think like, I don't have to complete this section, I don't have to tick this box. The most important thing is really read through that and make sure you completed every section, because this application tool robot doesn't understand what you just like did write down and might reject you because you haven't just like completed one section. And that would be horrible because you would miss out on a job even if you're eligible and if you're amazing. Take the time. I know these things can be a little bit annoying and just like take time, but if you've done one or two, you're an expert in that. So top tip really, I can only see your application if you completed it 100% in the online tool.
I also saw another tip that if you are applying and just directly sending an email, to try send your email early in the morning when people first log on to their emails. Is that something that you've seen before? Or
just like not in the company I'm working because it goes through a different kind of tool. So your application is not coming to my personal inbox. So that's perhaps not correct in my case, but I can imagine in smaller companies, it comes to the recruiter's inbox. So absolutely, first thing in the morning.
Fresh right at the top of their inbox?
Yeah, perhaps not Friday afternoon. If I would send an application Friday afternoon, it comes straight to the recruiter's inbox. The recruiter might see it on Monday, but then a lot of emails came in over the weekend as well, and it might be buried under all these emails. So yeah.
Check the time that you're applying.
Yeah.
So now onto our community Q&A. So we asked our community if they had any questions for you about job applications, and we've covered most of them in the video already, but I have two really good questions here for you. So a lot of questions centered around career changes, a lot of people wanting to move out of their current career and try something totally new, but they have no relevant experience in that field. So how can they tailor their resume to kind of use their existing skills and still stand out as a strong candidate?
Yeah, absolutely. So just like, again, have a look at the job description that you're interested in and have a look at all the things that you have done. Are there any transferable skills? And there will be some for sure. For example, have you worked in a restaurant? What kind of skills that are used there are interesting for the new job? Is it customer relationship or just like dealing with tight deadlines? Whatever you can use, you can just like, use to explain why you're interested in this new industry, in this totally new job. I have no experience. But if you show the recruiter in your cover letter, in your resume, that you are keen and committed and willing to learn, that's the win. But have a look for transferable skills. I think that would be my top tip, because you can't make up a story. You can't just say, I have these experiences, but you can, just like tell a story around that. Why are you the right person for that? Because you have the skills, but you have no experience, which is totally fine. But that's my tip. Yeah.
And I think showing the passion that you are really keen to learn is so important, and that's really going to make you stand out as well. And the last question is, and you touched on this a little bit before, but how far back should you include in your resume? So if you're a little bit later in your career, not just a fresh graduate, when do you start scrapping things?
I think you can't say that in general. You always have a look at, what kind of role you're applying for. Again, as I said before, just like you don't have to start at high school or kindy if you are applying for a more experienced job. So if you already have work experience, just have a look at the permanent things, or just like postgraduate jobs. That's more important. Always include your education as well. I think that will never change. Even just like if I would apply, or just like my husband or you, we still put in our just like education, but only perhaps university or TAFE or whatever you just have. That's fine.
Amazing. So that's all we have time for today. But if you're looking for some more resume tips, we actually have a free checklist on our website, and we'll leave a link to download that in the description box below. Becks, thank you so much for joining us today. Your tips and insights have been incredible.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's all right. We have another video coming up with Becks about all things job interviews, so stay tuned for that one. But in the meantime, don't forget to click the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with our future videos. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.